Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you came to watch this video, and if you are new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please subscribe before you leave. Today's video is going to be for beginners, basically the young girls who are just getting started into makeup and interested in starting to learn how to do makeup. This is going to be basically what you need to do a full face of makeup. And I'm going to keep this all to drugstore just to keep it on the cheaper side, just because when you're first starting out with makeup, you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money on it when you don't really know how to use it yet. And the drugstore has really stepped up their makeup game, and I prefer some drugstore products over high-end brands anyway. And so without further ado, we're going to jump right into the video. First things first, you want to get a good moisturizer. Moisturizing your skin is very important for when doing a makeup, just because you don't want any dry spots, but also if you have oily skin, this is very misunderstood. Basically what your skin is doing when it's oily is producing extra oil to make up for the dryness or the lack of moisture in your skin. So moisturizing is important with oily and dry skin. I have a good drugstore one that I actually haven't bought a full-size product of yet. I got a sample of this in the mail and I actually love it. It's one of my favorite moisturizers that I use. I personally have oily skin, so one thing I suggest when you do have oily skin is try to use a gel or water-based moisturizer rather than a cream moisturizer. That's just to, prevent any extra oil. Cream-based tends to clog the pores a little extra. But this is the one that I've been using. This is just the insert from the sample that I got. Like I said, I haven't bought a full-size one yet, but this is the L'Oreal. It's the Hydrogenous, and I got the one for oily skin, and there's also one for normal to dry skin, but those are very, very awesome. I think the price is like, gosh, I think at Walgreens it was $17, which Walgreens is pretty expensive normally, so I'm gonna go around the range of $15 probably at Walmart. There is coupons online that you can get a $2 off, but that's the first step. Most importantly, you always want to keep your skin hydrated. Second step, this is totally optional. It's a primer, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say, when I first started makeup, I did not use primer, and still to this day I tend to forget to wear a primer. They do have some good drugstore options. The brand Elf has some really good primers, as well as the brand Milani, and I want to say also Wet n Wild has some pretty decent primers. So those are three drugstore options for primers if you wanted to. If you are someone who doesn't want to like cover up your skin a whole lot, you just want kind of like a light layer of coverage on for top of your skin, I suggest to get a powder rather than a liquid foundation. One that I'm going to suggest is the Maybelline Fit Me. This is the matte and poreless powder. This is a really good foundation powder. This is the shade 120. It comes with a sponge in it, which we're actually going to talk about brushes in just a second and what you should get, or if you should get them. But like I said, if you don't want a lot of coverage, go with a powder. Now, I'm going to give you two options, one for dry skin, one for oily skin. And for some reason, I do not know why, but I cannot find my bottle of foundation that I'm going to talk about, which is another Maybelline Fit Me product. I'm going to go ahead and say that it is my favorite drugstore foundation. Like I said, I do have oily skin, so this one is perfect for oily skin. It's the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Liquid Foundation. They have a ton of shades. I think they have about 40 different shades. You can return makeup if it's not the correct shade. Just take it back, keep your receipt, take it back, and then switch it out for the correct shade. Now, if you have more oily skin than dry skin, you want to stick with a foundation that is not necessarily matte. Now, I will say that if you hydrate well enough and you want a matte finish, you can totally wear the Fit Me Matte and Poreless, because it's not a completely dry your skin out foundation. But if you have really, really dry skin and you just don't want to have like a cakey look on your face, you want to stick with more of a dewy finish. And this is the Dream Liquid Mousse foundation. I like this foundation. It comes with a pump, which is very handy. But it says it gives you an airbrush finish. It does give you a very pretty finish. It's just not as matte as I like. Now, I do still wear this randomly if I just have like a dry day and I want a nice dewy finish, I do use this. But when I have oily skin and I use this, it kind of tends to, my forehead tends to get super oily throughout the day. So I try not to use this one as much unless I'm having a really dry skin day. But like I said, if you have oily or dry skin, this is a good one here. I did see another foundation that I have been using, actually really good and very, very cheap. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. I'm going to show you. It comes with a little spatula on the end of the tube. This is a matte foundation. Also, it's pretty full coverage, but it is very beautiful on the skin. I do recommend this. I really love it. I can't remember how much I paid for this, but I want to say it was under $4. So if you're just starting out and you want to try something super cheap, I would say go with this one. So moving on from that, once you use a liquid foundation, this is not something that I did when I first started, but since doing it, you know, it's definitely made my foundation stay on longer, and I do suggest it even for beginners. It's to set it with a setting powder. And the difference between a setting powder and like a foundation powder like this is a setting powder doesn't have any color to it, so it doesn't add any coverage or color, I should say, to your face. It just kind of sets everything in place, like gives it a when you set a liquid with a powder, it just keeps it on longer. It doesn't, you know, it just works. So the one that I suggest that's from the drugstore is the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder, and it looks like this. You can find this at Walmart. All of these products that so far that I've showed you can find at Walmart. And this one comes in, I think, 3 different shades. The one that I got is the Naturally Neutral, and I'm very fair skinned and it doesn't leave any color. There's no look to it or anything. So this is a good one here. So that is the only drugstore setting powder that I have to suggest, just because it's the only drugstore one that I have used. Moving along, we're going to go ahead and go on to our next step, which would be concealer. The 2 that I have to recommend, one is the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Concealer. This one is very good. It comes in a tube with a little applicator. And then the other one that I have is the LA Girl Pro Conceal, which I'm pretty sure you have to get this online. I know Ulta has recently started selling some LA Girl, but I don't know if they have this concealer or not. They may, so that may be something to look for. You can get this at Ulta, Target, anywhere that sells NYX Cosmetics. But those are 2 good concealers. Oh, I did forget to mention a really good concealer from the drugstore that I don't know why I didn't mention, but this one is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. This is one of my favorite concealers. I use this one every single day. I don't know why I didn't mention it earlier. It was sitting right in front of me, but you just twist the little knob here and it builds up in the sponge, and then you can just apply it that way, and it blends out so nicely. It's very pretty. It covers well. This one is I would recommend this one over the 2 that I showed you there. All 3 are very good. This one is the most expensive out of the 3 that I showed you, but it is a very good concealer. So moving right along, contouring is a huge thing right now in makeup, and I'm sure that's something that you're probably going to want to start doing. One that I suggest from the drugstore is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contouring Palette, which it looks like this. I'll open it up. You can tell it's very big. I actually really love this. As you can see, I have hit pan in this. This one is in the shade Dolce de Leche. I feel like this is a perfect contour to get started on, just because it's cheap. I think it was like $3. I don't know exactly, but it's buildable, so you can start out with a small amount and slowly build it up so that you don't look like you have a muddy face or you're dirty. But this is the contour palette that I have to recommend. We'll go ahead and go to blush. So the drugstore has tons and tons of blush options. I have one in particular that I'm going to recommend. And just because I'm recommending this doesn't mean that this is what you need to go get. Like I said, this is just what I recommend. I know that Milani has a great blush line. And also the one that I'm going to show is Wet n Wild. They have a great blush line. I'm sure Maybelline and L'Oreal and such have great blushes. I just haven't used them. But this is the one that I recommend right now. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon. It looks like this here. And it is in the shade Pearlescent Pink. And here it is. It's such a very pretty, like, peachy pink color. It has some shimmer in it also. So I just think this is a very pretty. I feel like it would go on multiple different skin colors for sure. I feel like anybody could pull this color off. And one thing that I really like about it is buildable. It can be very pigmented. So if you're going to get this, just go in with a light hand and build the coverage that you want. But this is a very, very good blush, and this is the only drugstore blush that I have right now to recommend because it's the only one that I use, but I love it. It's so good. And then on to highlighting, which highlighting is a huge thing right now also. The one that I'm going to recommend, I will say that I do like it. It's just not the proper shade for me. If you've watched my videos before, you've heard me say this, but it does work great. It does exactly what it should. It is a pretty color. It's just, I'm so fair. It's a little too dark for me. But this is also Wet n Wild. This is the Mega Glow Highlighting Powder. I cannot remember what shade this is, Awesome Blossom or something like that. But it's just a pretty, like, almost like a rose gold shade you can see here. It applies nicely. It's you know, a pretty highlighter. It's a good one. They also have come out with a new line. If you are fair skinned like myself, they do have lighter shades now. So I do recommend, if you're going to start out with some highlighter, go ahead and get this one, try it out, and see how you like it. And then we're going to go on and move on to eyeshadows. So there are quite a few eyeshadow palettes now in drugstore world, but I haven't used many of them. I have seen reviews on some of them that have been hit or miss. So I have one that I actually really like. I think the shades are very pigmented. They go on nicely. I think there's 3 different palettes like this. There may be more since I've bought this, but this is the Wet n Wild All Naturel palette. This one is in the name Nude Awakening. And here it is here. And as you can see, these shades, they start light to dark, just like in most palettes do. This is a nice little variety of colors and shades. For beginners in eyeshadow, one palette's really all you need. Just get one, play around with it until you get more comfortable with how it blends and how it works. Then just kind of, you know, branch out and get some more colors, more palettes, whatever. So I don't have a drugstore eyeliner that I personally use right now, and there's no reason for that. Just the fact that I get a bunch of subscription boxes, and I've gotten so many different eyeliners in that I haven't had to buy any. But I will say that there are plenty of eyeliners out there. I do suggest the waterproof eyeliner if you're going to put eyeliner in your waterline, just to keep it there all day. And if you want to do a liquid liner, I do have a drugstore liquid liner, and that is the NYX matte liquid liner. Now, one thing I will say, this is used to do wing liner and your top line. Just starting out with makeup, wing liner is hard. I still struggle with it every day. So it's one of those things that you'll just have to practice on and get better. But if you are going to, I do recommend this. I'll show you what this little brush looks like. So it's a very small little brush, and let's see, there you go. And so it allows you to get a precise line and such. But if you're just starting out, I would skip the cat liner altogether and just, you know, perfect everything else and then build up to doing something like this. Now, that doesn't mean you can't start by doing this. You may be a pro at cat liner and just don't know it yet. So I do suggest playing and trying. But when it comes down to actually everyday makeup, I would give this a wait. Okay? And then, so mascara. This is the only one that I have right now that I could find. I'm sure I have a couple more drugstore brands, mascaras. This one here is really good. For some reason, my bottle is, the pink is coming off and wearing off. You can see it's all sparkly on my hand. But this is the L'Oreal, Voluminous Lash Paradise. If you watch YouTube videos, this has been the hype of YouTube videos, drugstore mascara. I will say though, this is a pricier drugstore mascara. Not really, really pricey, but this one's $9.99. I think that's what it was when I got it. It may be a little different now, I'm not sure. But there are more affordable options. And with mascara, I do not like waterproof. I feel like it's way too hard to come off, and I end up pulling out lashes when I use waterproof. That's totally preference. I do suggest getting a couple of, CoverGirl has some really good ones. You know, L'Oreal has a couple other options that are good and more affordable. Wet n Wild has some really good stuff. So, you know, just grab a cheaper mascara and play with it. Get a waterproof and a non-waterproof and see which one you prefer and go from there. But I mean, if you're asking me what I would recommend from drugstore, I would recommend this. It's very good. It is a dupe for a high-end mascara from Too Faced also. So that is a good thing. Now we need lipstick. Is that all we have? I think that's it. So for lipstick, there are so many options. So you can do a gloss, you can do a matte, you can do, you know, a balm, a sheer lipstick. There's all kinds of options, and the drugstore has it all. They have tube lipsticks, they have liquid lipsticks, they have, you know, your normal, what you're used to lipsticks that scroll up in the little thingy. I personally do not like those. I don't know why, they just smell funny to me. But the one I'm going to recommend to you is from Wet n Wild. This is the Mega Last Liquid Cat Suit, and I have 3 shades right here. These are the 3 that I have. I think they have about 10 or 11 shades, but these are matte. They dry down completely to where they don't transfer at all, and that's just preference. Some people don't mind a transfer. I personally don't like to transfer because I end up having it halfway across my face and don't know it halfway through the day. Look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my god. But so that's why I prefer a liquid lipstick. There is multiple options of these. NYX has a couple of really good ones. This is their liquid suede. I will say this is not as transfer proof as this one to me. I know Milani has some. Maybelline has come out with some new stuff. Like I said, when it comes to liquid lipsticks, there's a ton of them to choose from. These are just some that are very, very affordable and they work very well. And so I would recommend those. That's about it for the kit itself. So basically, you know, all that stuff that I showed you would give you a full face of makeup. And it's all drugstore, very affordable. Oh my goodness. I totally forgot about brushes. So I told you about all this makeup and stuff, but I didn't tell you what you should apply it with. Dummy me. Okay, so when it comes to brushes, there's so many options out there. There is a brand, Real Techniques, at Walmart. I will suggest if you want to use a sponge, their Real Techniques sponge is very good. It's affordable. I think it's like $4.99, $4.49, something like that. But that's a good sponge to use compared to the $20 beauty blender. It's great. When it comes to brushes, I'm going to give you a website that I recommend getting a set of brushes from, just because you can get a good set of brushes that are cheap and affordable from this website, and you don't have to go anywhere else to get anything else. But it's bhcosmetics.com. They actually have a whole line of makeup that's really great and stuff, but they have a section on the website. You can just find it. I think you just hit brushes, and they have a whole line of brushes. I think you can get like a 20-piece kit for $10 and I don't know, $15. They have sales all the time. So go there if you want to get a good set of brushes, in my opinion. I actually use quite a bit of their brushes on a daily basis. Like one of my favorite eyeshadow brushes is from there. So I do recommend getting your brushes from there and just get a full set, a full kit of brushes. That way you have a good foundation brush, a highlighter brush. You have everything there in one little kit for you. Okay, I really cannot believe I forgot to tell you about the brushes. Anyway, so the last step is basically what you're going to clean your makeup off with. This is probably one of the most important steps, because when you start wearing makeup, you're going to clog your pores. You're going to probably start to break out a little bit more than you already are, just because your face is not used to something like that. So it's very important on your daily routine to cleanse your skin afterwards. And there's multiple different things that you can use. They have the wipes, the makeup remover wipes that are pre-moistened, and you just have to take and wipe them off. In my opinion, they're great for quick removals, but they do leave a little bit of a residue onto your skin. If you ask me, what I use is daily facials is what they're called. They come in a little box like this. They also have refills, so you don't have to buy the box every time. But these are not moistened. They're just little cloths like this, and you run them under the water. They foam up real good for you, and you just, wipe off. They do unfold into a full square But with the pre-moistened towels, they tend to irritate my eyes really bad. And with those, like, I could be washing my face, have full suds everywhere, and open my eyes, and it does not bother my eyes one bit. But those work great. So I definitely recommend that. And then if you are acne prone, there's tons of acne, gentle acne washes. Neutrogena's grapefruit is a really good one. But it's definitely important to clean your skin every single day. It's probably the most important step when you are just starting makeup. Make sure you wash your face. Okay? So with that, I think that is everything. I will be posting a different video showing you the basic steps on makeup and how to apply it. And I will be using the makeup that I showed you today, a full drugstore face, and let you know how I do that. So be looking for that video in the future. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later. But for this video, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know down in the comments and like this video. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And I will see you guys in our next video. Bye.